Hey everybody, these are notes from the 7th grade Common Core lesson 7.5. We're going to be talking about scale drawings and scale models. There's three definitions that you need to be familiar with. The first one is a scale drawing. A scale drawing is proportional two-dimensional drawing of an object. So pretty much if you have something really big and you want it to be small so you can work on it and and figure out the dimensions of it, it's like a smaller version of it. A scale model, this is the drawing, the 2D. The scale model is a 3D, so it's proportional to the big one. Sometimes if it's really, really small and you need to make it bigger, those would also work, but typically we see scale drawings or scale models to be smaller. All right, the actual scale, all right, that's the actual ratio that compares the measurement of the actual drawing, or of the measurement of the smaller version to the actual measurements. So the scale, we're going to be using ratio. Now, in order to solve these, I am going to go ahead and expect you to have proportions. In example 1, we're going to find the actual distance. So typically on a map, there's like the key down here that tells you when you measure. For everything you measure, what's the actual distance. So if this was my phony baloney map and it says this line from this line is 3.5 centimeters, I want to know what it is in real life. So I'm going to start with a proportion, and I typically start with the actual key. So I'm going to say that 1 centimeter is equal to 50 miles. And I'm going to write a correct proportion of that by saying, all right, 1 is my numerator compared to the actual, so drawing compared to actual, and then I'm going to go ahead and say on the drawing, it's 3.5 centimeters, and I am looking for x, the actual miles. Now I'm going to solve this proportion, and I'm going to say that 1x is equal to 3.5 times 50, and then I'm going to say that x is equal to, what is that, 175. So because x is 175, I'm going to say that the actual distance is 175 miles. Now, I know some of you are going to say, oh, I don't want to do all the equations, but you're going to have to, all right? So I set up my proportion, and I'm going to bring it closer so you can see that part, because I wrote kind of in a light marker. So you're going to write the actual proportion and then solve it using algebra. We're going to do the same thing with example 2, but this time I'm going to find the model size if the scale is 1 inch compared to 150 miles, and the diameter of the moon is 2,160 miles. So this time I'm finding the model of when I do know the actual. So I'm going to start with my scale again. That 1 inch is equal to 150 miles. And then in the numerator is my scale, or the smaller version, or the model drawing. And then on the bottom is my actual. And then according to this, I'm looking for the model, but I do know that it's 2,160 miles. If you notice, as you go ahead and set up your proportion, you have to make sure that miles are in the denominator and inches are in the numerator, or at least it's the same. So I'm going to use cross products. 1 times 2,160 is equal to 150 x. I'm going to divide both sides by 150. Again, this is a calculator unit. I don't have my calculator home, so I'm going to use my phone. And I'm going to say that, oh, Ainsley, hold it up. I'm going to say that 2,160 divided by 150. Oh, it's 14.4. So x is equal to 14.4. And as I'm looking, I'm solving for the actual model. So that's 14.4 inches, right? Because units are going to be important during this. So let's kind of do a recap. Scale drawings, you need to know what a scale drawing is. 2D, scale model, 3D. You need to know that the scale is the actual ratio when you're solving for the actual or the model, or the anytime actual and comparing it to the model, you're going to use a proportion. That key typically comes first. You'd get the same answer if you did it second, but typically you write it first, and it's important that your ratios match up. So model or drawing on top, actual on the bottom. All right, and make sure you're solving use proportions. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.